Turkey has crossed a line only a handful of countries have ever reached. Ankara has officially moved the KAAN stealth fighter into serial production, with plans to deliver 25th-generation jets to the Turkish Air Force between 2028 and 2030. This is not just another military project. It is Turkiye openly entering one of the most exclusive clubs in global defense. For years, the United States, China, and Russia dominated this space. Even wealthy NATO members still depend on imported aircraft. But Turkiye is now attempting something different, designing, producing, operating, and eventually exporting its own fifth-generation stealth fighter. That changes the balance of power inside NATO, across the Middle East, and into parts of Asia. Because stealth fighters are not simply aircraft. They are symbols of technological independence, military prestige, and geopolitical influence. And with global tensions rising, wars reshaping defense planning, and supply chains becoming politicized, Turkiye is making one thing clear. It no longer wants to rely on Western systems for its future security. The KAAN program, previously known as TFX, has evolved from an ambitious idea into one of the most closely watched fighter programs in the world. Turkiye's defense industry chief Haluk Görgün confirmed during SAHA Expo that the country is now preparing for operational production, with Block 10 aircraft expected to begin entering service in 2028. That means Turkiye is moving faster than many Western analysts originally expected. When the program first began, many experts doubted whether Turkish industry could handle the enormous technical challenges involved in fifth-generation fighter development. After all, stealth aircraft are among the most complicated machines ever built. They require advanced radar systems, electronic warfare suites, low-observable designs, secure data networking, powerful engines, and highly integrated software ecosystems. But despite sanctions, political tensions, and export restrictions, Turkiye kept pushing forward. Multiple prototypes are already flying or undergoing testing, while production infrastructure is expanding rapidly. Turkish planners are also taking a more careful approach than earlier projections suggested. Rather than rushing numbers into service, Ankara is prioritizing reliability, supply chain stability, and testing maturity. A controlled approach that reduces the risk of costly setbacks. Because Turkiye does not want a symbolic jet. It wants a credible combat platform capable of operating in real high-threat environments. The aircraft itself represents a major leap for Turkish military aviation. KAAN is designed as a low-observable, multi-role stealth fighter with internal weapons bays, advanced sensor fusion, electronic warfare systems, and battlefield networking capabilities. In simple terms, it is being built to survive and fight in heavily defended airspace where older aircraft would struggle. The Block 10 version will initially use twin General Electric F-110 engines, the same engine family already familiar to the Turkish Air Force through its F-16 fleet. This gives Turkiye important logistical continuity while it continues developing its own domestic engine program. But even with foreign engines in the early phase, much of the aircraft's brain is already Turkish-made. Systems like ASELSAN MURAD AESA radar, infrared search and track systems, and advanced targeting sensors are all being integrated domestically. That is critical because modern air warfare increasingly depends on software, sensors, and electronic systems as much as raw speed or maneuverability. Turkish officials claim the Block 10 version will already deliver around 90% of the intended fifth-generation capability. And the long-term vision goes far beyond simply replacing aging F-16s. Turkiye wants KAAN to become a central node in a future networked battlefield environment, working with drones, missiles, satellites, naval systems, and ground forces simultaneously. In many ways, Ankara is trying to build not just a fighter jet, but an entire future combat ecosystem around it. The most difficult part of KAAN remains the engine. In military aviation, engines are the ultimate test of industrial independence. Building a stealth airframe is hard. Building a stealth-compatible turbofan is harder. Future versions, like the planned Block 30, are expected to use the TEI TF35000 engine family, which would dramatically reduce dependence on foreign suppliers and export approvals. Countries using imported engines face restrictions on where they can sell aircraft. A domestic engine would give Turkiye far greater freedom. The program also reflects a broader strategic shift. Over the past decade, Ankara has worked to reduce reliance on foreign military technology after repeated sanctions, procurement disputes, and political tensions with Western allies. Being removed from the F-35 program following the S-400 purchase still shapes Turkish defense thinking today. KAAN is partly Ankara's answer to that experience. If access to foreign systems can become politically uncertain, sovereign alternatives are not optional. They are essential. What makes KAAN even more significant is that it is already evolving into an export platform. Turkiye is not building this aircraft only for itself. Reports of a 48 aircraft agreement involving Indonesia have transformed the program into an international geopolitical project. Discussions about cooperation with Gulf states, including possible Saudi interest, are adding even more attention. If those deals expand, KAAN could become one of the first non-Western stealth fighters widely exported across the Muslim world and parts of Asia. That would give Turkiye enormous influence in global defense markets. Right now, most countries seeking advanced stealth fighters have limited options. They either buy American systems like the F-35, seek Chinese aircraft, or rely on older Russian platforms. Turkiye wants KAAN to become an alternative path, especially for countries looking for strategic diversification without complete dependence on Washington or Beijing. This is why the project has attracted so much international interest, despite still being in development. Defense exports today are not just about money. They create long-term political influence, military interoperability, training partnerships, maintenance contracts, intelligence relationships, and strategic alignment. Every KAAN export would effectively expand Turkish geopolitical reach. And if Turkiye succeeds in building an independent aerospace ecosystem around the aircraft, it could gradually emerge as one of the world's most important defense industrial powers over the next 2 decades. In the end, KAAN represents far more than a new fighter jet. It represents Turkiye's attempt to redefine its place in the global power structure. For decades, Ankara was seen mainly as a regional military power dependent on Western technology and NATO systems. But now, Turkiye is trying to evolve into something much larger, an independent aerospace and defense power capable of shaping regional security on its own terms. That transformation carries major implications. Inside NATO, it could make Turkiye far more strategically autonomous. In the Middle East, it could intensify competition with regional rivals investing heavily in advanced military technology. In Asia and Africa, it could open new defense partnerships with countries seeking alternatives to traditional suppliers. And globally, it signals how rapidly the monopoly over 5th-generation aviation technology is beginning to break apart. Of course, enormous challenges still remain. Building stealth fighters at scale is brutally expensive and technically demanding. Engine development remains uncertain. Long-term production rates must still be proven. Export success is not guaranteed. But the fact that Turkiye has already advanced this far is reshaping perceptions across the defense world. Because only a few years ago, many observers dismissed KAAN as overly ambitious. Today, those same observers are watching serial production begin. And if Ankara actually delivers operational 5th-generation fighters by 2028, while continuing to build its own engines and export ecosystem afterward, then Turkiye will have achieved something that very few countries in modern history have managed to accomplish, transforming itself from a defense customer into a true aerospace power.